All right, everyone, welcome back to Chicken Cindy's.
Hey, I gotta pull my pants up.
We got Rich. We got Rich from Griffin Bike Park.
Just wouldn't be the same if I wasn't pulling my pants up.
You're not wrong. So this episode's going to be really geared more towards locals around Griffin Bike Park.
Yes.
And what we're going to discuss are different types of bikes and the different types of bike uses specifically at Griffin and what Rich would recommend them be for on the trail system.
Yes.
Sound good?
Sounds great.
Let's do it.
Imagine you're just starting at Griffin. You've been riding whatever you had. A lot of us I started on used bikes. I rode for 3 or 4 years on someone else's bikes, you know. I still have them, by the way.
The original bikes?
Yeah, and they're old. And they're real old. But they were okay. They weren't the best. But today we've got a really good chance to get a decent bike for a little bit of money. This Giant right here runs about $750, something like that. And it's a great start for out at Griffin Bike Park. You're not going to hit the black diamond trails on this. This one will get you started on the blacks and or the green trails and get you started going towards the blue trails. You want to go through some of the features, Josh?
So I'm actually pretty impressed with this bike when he brought it in. I'm pretty sure this is one of the first times I've seen this specific Giant, and it's a Giant Talon, but it has an Advent 9 drivetrain with the clutch derailleur. So you can hear that fancy ratchet. That's how you know it's clutch, but it also has a little on-off switch. The 9-speed, which I believe this goes to a 46 tooth. I'll put up in the margin for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's 42. So a 42 tooth, but still, 42 teeth is plenty for any beginner climb you're going to do. So right off the bat, you already have a very nice drivetrain on this bad boy. Hydraulic Tektro disc brakes, which really at $750 is pretty impressive. I mean, you would get this bike, and honestly, if you wanted to upgrade it down the road, maybe an air fork to save you some weight, a dropper post at some point in time, because dropper posts are total game changers.
Deal changer, yeah.
Well, once you get one and learn how to ride them appropriately and use them right, I mean, you really can't ride without one. But as a beginner who's just going to get out and pedal and put miles, this bike looks absolutely terrific to me in the beginning first bike you would buy. I'm very impressed with it. And as Rich said, I mean, perimeter loop, lake loop,
Yep.
Buffaloes.
Yeah, I'd take it on Buffaloes.
Buffaloes wouldn't be an issue, and that's one of the newer blue trails at Griffin Bike Park, which the features are terrific. I think they're absolutely awesome. And fun fact, I did Buffaloes the other day on my fat bike. I don't recommend that, but we did it, and it was fun.
You can get on to rock and roll with it.
Oh, yeah.
You could probably easily even do the Black Diamond Bushwhack Trail.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of features. It's mainly just the climbs.
At Griffin, there's a weird change in your black trails.
There is.
You have technical black trails that are a little bit older.
Yep.
And then you have the new black trails that are just features in your face. And if you're not comfortable on a bike, don't hit them.
That's right.
Kind of features.
That's right. Everything's got a ride around.
But I would say, honestly, you could do a lot of stuff at Griffin on this bike.
Yes, absolutely.
You could get started. And honestly, for me, whenever I first got into biking, I wish I knew a lot of the information I know now, which of course, I'm sure a ton of people wish that when they first started, because my very first bike was a Walmart bike.
Yep.
$150 Genesis. I broke it the very first day I was out. It was not ideal.
Fun fact,
but
my fat bike is a Walmart bike.
Let's go. Well, mine is too. But no, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
They do the job. They're great
they do.
bikes. Just
keep in mind though, there are specific bikes for specific things, which is going to bring us to our next bike. So give me just a minute. So now we're going to go extreme opposite, basically. This bike is about 4 times a little bit more expensive than what the Giant was. So we'll touch the middle in a little bit, but we kind of wanted to go to this because I feel like most advanced riders or people who have been riding a while are going to have something similar to this.
Yes.
All right, so what would you like to share about your Trek Remedy?
So this is my Trek Remedy. I've had it since 2019. Very fond of this bike. It's a full carbon bike. The only thing that's not carbon fiber is the rear triangle. It's aluminum. And if you can kind of see here, it gets a lot of abuse there from the chain. carbon wheels, long travel. This bike has 160 in the front, big travel fork, 150 in the back. This is the bike I use to test the new crazy features Josh was talking about. This is the bike I use when Josh and I travel.
Yep.
And we're not sure what we're riding. We're not sure where we're going. This one will take all the big hits. This one I use mainly at Griffin Bike Park on Recon and Foxtrot. It's been on over and out.
Yeah.
But this one is my big hit bike.
I would say, just like what Rich said, a lot of the times when we're going to like downhill parks and things like that, this is typically what he brings. First, hang on. I noticed it. Doesn't that sound good? That sounds so good. But that's not Hydra's, right?
No, that's a Bontrager.
Holy
but
cow.
It's got the extra pulse
Okay.
in it
That actually sounds really nice.
for instant engagement. So when you start pedaling, it takes off quick.
But I've seen Rich do a ton of stuff on this bike. And 9 times out of 10, I'm typically following Rich while he's on this bike is what we're going on. Have you ever had this bike and done something on it where you felt like it couldn't handle it?
No, not this bike.
Okay. So this would be rated more enduro, right?
Yeah.
Is that how you'd...
Yeah.
This isn't quite trail. It's a little bit longer than trail, but it's obviously not downhill. You're right in the enduro range.
Yeah, this is the bike I actually race enduro on.
Okay, so that makes sense. And then the last... Did you do Chubb?
I did
The Chubb enduro on this?
one, yeah, a
Okay,
year
so...
ago.
And this is decked out with, it looks like Shimano XT.
Yep.
You got some nice RockShox suspension. And the nice thing about this bike is these aren't the top of the lines. So if you look at it, so you don't have the Ultimate.
Nope.
So this isn't the Lyric Ultimate. This isn't the rear suspension Ultimate. But a lot of people don't realize those forks and suspension, they're terrific. Just because it doesn't have the Kashima coating or it doesn't say Ultimate, it doesn't mean it's not good. You've had this bike for how long?
4 years, right?
Has anything on it?
No.
I mean,
the only thing I've had to change on this is chain and cassette because I wore it out.
And that's normal use. And that's also, like with the Giant, for instance, when we were just talking about that, ride that sucker stock until something breaks or until something wears out. And then guess what? Time for an upgrade. You got to replace it anyhow, right?
Yep.
So, Trek Remedy, pretty much anything at Griffin Bike Park. Anything. You have the trail to enduro, I'd say right between like the 140, 160 up front, and then some fun in the rear, whatever you got, like 130 to 150. There's nothing at Griffin you won't be able to do, in my opinion.
No, there's really nothing in the state of Indiana or Illinois that it really requires this bike. You get over into Missouri, it makes it nice. They got some bigger rocks and bigger hills over there. Down at Bentonville.
Yeah, that'll do it too.
Lake Leatherwood.
Yep.
I rode the tar
Yeah,
out of it at Leatherwood.
Lake Leatherwood gets pretty rowdy, but Lake Leatherwood's terrific. If you ever go to Bentonville, definitely on a shuttle day, check out Lake Leatherwood. I think you'll be super surprised how just amazingly fun that place is. Because it's like, what, 30 minutes from Bentonville?
Yeah.
If that.
Yeah.
Definitely make it a pit stop if you go.
They take you to the top in an air-conditioned bus.
Yeah.
With the trailer behind you with your bikes and drop you off
Just
and
to
down you go.
So I think something you just said a second ago is an absolute perfect pivot point for our next bike. This is perfect for anything pretty well around this 4 or 5 hour area. I mean, any further than that, you might get into some questionable territory. But our next bike is going to be exactly what he was just kind of hitting on. That's perfect for the area. So give me a second. All right. So the last bike we're going to talk about is my binary, which is in the category of technically hardcore hardtail.
Yes.
Okay. You have your Giant, which is more like cross-country hardtail is what I'd categorize that as.
Yep.
So one of the biggest differences between like a hardcore hardtail and a cross-country is legit just geometry.
Yep.
So with a hardcore hardtail, the head tube angle has to be 65 degrees or less, which this one is less.
A lot less.
Not on purpose. We've talked about that before. And I got 150 up front, so 65 degrees or less. Most people say technically 140 millimeters of travel in the front or greater. This one has 150. So something that really excites me about talking about this bike specifically is Rich actually has a Reeb, which is basically identical to this, besides slightly different head tube angle.
Yes.
Yours is, you know what yours
Mine's
is?
at 65.
Okay, so right at. But he still has 150 on the front, Yours is steel, right?
Mine's steel.
His is steel, mine's titanium, because I'm better. But he wants a titanium.
I want titanium back.
He keeps having me look up bikes and sending them to me, and it's making me want another bike. But this is kind of a weird breed of bike. For me, personally, I've ridden full suspensions, from cross-country full suspension to enduro full suspensions, and I always go back to hardtails. Not because of not enjoying the full suspensions. We were actually talking about it earlier. The Nuke-Proof Reactor, which was like 150, 140 front, and 150 front, 140 rear. Loved that bike. It was amazing. But I just always go back to hardtails. For me, I think they're more fun. For me, I think they're more playful. It makes the climbs a little, I mean, I don't want to say easier, because honestly, a lot of full suspensions nowadays, they climb fine.
Yeah,
they climb fine.
I think it's a mental block. I think when you're riding on your hardtail, you know every ounce of power is going to that back wheel.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice feeling. And for me, I got pretty reckless on a full suspension. Whereas like, if I mess up on this, like I know I shouldn't have done that. Whereas like on a full suspension, I kind of had a safety net. So this has made me a better rider in a weird way, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
So,
it does.
But all right.
So I come from a hardcore BMX background.
Okay.
So the hardtail just fits me perfect. And the way these two bikes are made, they're giant BMX bikes. With the seat down, you can jump anything you want to jump. You can hop up anything you want to hop up, but you push that seat up, and now you've got a cross-country bike again.
And this one actually has 200 millimeters of travel.
That's a lot.
Which is wild, but it's kind of tilted down. But when it's on just the regular ground, the saddle is lower than my stem. It goes very low. I mean, it's wild how much you can get that saddle out of the way on this specific frame. And I'm pretty sure Reeb's pretty close to that as well,
Yeah,
the way it works. I mean,
close.
it's just an all-around very fun bike. So to tie this into Griffin, since you ride your Reeb, which is almost identical to this.
Yes, there's nothing at Griffin Bike Park I won't ride on my Reeb.
I would say the biggest limiting factor of a hardcore hardtail is the rider.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because of skill set. Yep. Let's talk about the big drop that's over there.
Yep.
It's on
Foxtrot? Or
no,
the one on Recon?
The one on Recon.
Yep.
So how tall is that? 7 foot?
7 foot tall.
So you have a 7 foot drop built perfect. The very first time I ever did that drop was with you on my NS Eccentric,
Yep.
which is another hardcore hardtail, but not as, I guess, aggressive as my binary is. And it was funny because when I showed up to the park, the first thing Rich said to me was, "Did you bring the right bike to do what we're doing?" And I go, "I don't know what we're doing." So the very first time I hit that drop was on a hardtail. If you don't know what you're doing, that drop on a hardtail could be very difficult.
Yes.
But if you have the skill and the control of a hardtail, that drop is cake.
It's butter smooth.
It's built perfect. It is absolutely amazing. Who helped with that trail?
Tyler McCall.
Tyler McCall. Rides Red Bull Rampage and stuff.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing with drops, but when you're at the top looking down a 7 foot drop and it's, an 8 foot gap?
It is.
It's wide. I mean, it's huge, especially for our area. It's very intimidating.
Yeah, it's very big.
But it's built perfect, and that's something to know, especially if you're going to Griffin for the first time and like you're a decent rider or a good rider, you're not sure. But no, anytime I go to Griffin, even when I had full suspensions, I brought this.
Yeah.
This, I would bring a hardcore hardtail of forms, just a nice, just hardtail that will do anything.
And I ride my Reeb probably 90% of the time.
That's the other thing.
The Remedy sits in the garage until we get ready to go somewhere.
Yes. And that's what I noticed happened with a lot of my full suspensions. I would buy them, build them up. They would sit for a long time. But even for me, I've definitely taken this bike to some places I probably shouldn't have. We've usually made it work okay.
I have drugged you through places we probably shouldn't have.
That's also true. But one of the nice things about like a hardcore hardtail is you're not as expensive as like a Remedy, a Carbon.
Right.
Now this is titanium, which that's an entirely different ballpark. But now if you're looking at a steel frame for like a nice built bike, you can get a very well-built bike that is capable, very capable.
Kona makes a really nice one that's incredibly affordable.
Yeah, like 14, is that one 14 or 16?
Yeah, 14 or 16.
So, I mean, and now you're talking hardcore hardtail again. And again, it's I guess in our opinion, I'd say ours, it's more fun.
Yes.
It is.
They're just the most versatile bike that you can ride out there.
And
I really think it is. Plus, I mean, you can take this on the rails to trails. You can street ride it. You can do whatever you want to do on one of these.
It's such a good all-around bike to have.
Yep.
And I would personally, a lot of people, when they start biking, what happens is they get super excited, and the first thing they do after they get their beginner bike is buy a super nice full suspension bike. I would almost tell you to think about it and look at some form of hardcore hardtail.
Yep.
There's quite a few. I know Marin, like the Elroy.
Marin's got
Holy cow. That bike is very nice for the price.
Roscoe now.
Yes, the Roscoes, nice. Especially if you get the little bit more expensive ones, they actually have through axles in the rear now, where they used to be just quick releases, which I'm never going to bash a quick release. I've never had an issue with one personally. They rode them for years and did way gnarlier stuff on way less capable bikes than what we have now. So as long as it's set up properly, you're fine. But for me, the stiffness is really nice.
And someone did just break a through axle. Just saying.
So that's beside the point. And that was actually not on a quick release either. But so for Griffin Bike Park, we've talked about a beginner hardtail. We've talked about a hardcore hardtail. And then more of an enduro-styled kind of nice full suspension bike. So I would say
we got one more to do.
Oh, we do have one more. Hang on. Oh, fancy.
Real fancy.
Last but not least,
one more bike that we can use at Griffin Bike Park that we highly recommend. If you're going to ride our pump track, which everybody does, if you're going to hit our jump lines, even if you're going to do some dual slalom, the dirt jumper is just flat out the way to go. What do you got here, Josh?
So this is my evil faction that I built up. I got a Pike DJ up the front, which is cream of the crop, basically, front fork. Spank wheel set, nothing crazy, 32 spoons. I've had this 2 years, going on 3 years I've had it now. This thing is bulletproof. I've taken it to the jumps at Griffin, it's done terrific. I take it to the skate park, does terrific. I've taken it to Rays. Anytime I go to Rays, this is what I bring. A lot of people will bring mountain bikes and stuff like that to Rays. For me, since I'm going specifically for the jumping and things like that, this is what I bring. If I lived closer and could visit more, there's probably a couple times I'd come on my mountain bike just to get more miles and stuff. But I have put this thing through all kinds of torture, I would say, and it's done me terrific. Is there anything that you would say a dirt jumper, such as, because I'd say most dirt jumpers, geometry-wise and stuff,
real close.
Dirt jumper's a dirt jumper.
Yeah.
You can get a dirt jumper that's around 10 years old, and
it's going to be the same as this.
It'll be
There's
fine.
A few out there that are different, that are starting to rake out the head angles. The pivot I bought, that's the whole reason I bought it last year. The head angles raked out a little bit, and look, at 58, my reflexes aren't getting any faster. Specialized just came out with a 27.5 dirt jumper.
Oh, that's what you've been talking about.
Yeah.
So
might slow things down just a little bit more.
And this is a 26er, of course, which is a typical dirt jumper.
Yes.
So most dirt jumpers are 26-inch wheels.
They're going to have a pretty steep head angle, so they steer quick out there. Shorter fork travel, normally 80 to 100 millimeter.
Yep.
Single speed, we don't normally put gears on them because it's just something else to tear off when we're out there jumping and horsing around. Flat pedals with big pins.
Yep.
You want to be able to get your feet on. You don't, and you don't want to moving around.
You want to be stuck.
Seat slammed.
Yep. Get it out of the way.
The only thing we're using the seat for is to sit on while we're waiting our turn in line.
Yep.
Josh runs a little slicker tires than I do. He runs the Maxxis DTHs.
Yep.
I run the Maxxis Holy Rollers. And that's just preference. There's he's comfortable on this on concrete and on dirt. I wouldn't be. I liked a little bit heavier knob. Lower handlebars. Josh runs the...
I think those are 40 millimeters, if I recall.
Josh runs the 40s. Old guy like me, I run the 80s. So my bars are about 3 inches high. Everything else between our two bikes is almost identical. Heavy duty chromoly cranks.
Yep.
Steel frames.
And honestly, these are just some basic BMX cranks. If I remember, I got these off of BMX Source, which is funny because these aren't like super expensive cranks. They're the Fictions. And I think they're only like 60 or 80 bucks, but they're bomb-proof. Yeah. I mean, they are just a solid piece of metal that are very easy and simple, and they just work. So they're okay. I love them.
With saying that, you can't expect these bikes to be the lightest bikes in the world. Don't tell my buddy that. He just built a 26-pounder. but they're bomb proof, like Josh says.
They're tanks.
They're tanks.
And that's what they're made for. They're made to be tossed. They're made to be like to crash and to fall. I mean, that's the point. That's why, like up here, it's just so reinforced. It's nice, and they're fun. Like this kind of makes me this takes me back to my childhood. Basically, is what it does. Just riding a simple, easy bike. You just go and you have fun. I don't got to worry about gears or nothing.
It's BMX for big guys, is what it is.
It is, and I don't know. I take this to the pump track, and it's a blast. I take it to race, it's a blast. But this is one of those bikes to where you either have one of these because you like jumping, or you have one of these and it's an extra bike.
That's right.
It's if you own one of these and no other bikes, then you're probably you're most likely riding at Rays all the time.
Yeah.
Or because even coming to Griffin just to do the jumps, which a lot of people do, they're missing so much. Because when you pull into Griffin, you wear yourself out in the play area.
Yep.
You get there and you see these jumps and all these skinnies and the dual slalom, and the next thing you know, you have miles of trails that you've not even explored, and
we're over 30 miles of trails out there now,
and that's wild.
The further away you get from the parking lot, the rowdier the place gets.
It's true. But one of the best features about Griffin Bike Park, in my opinion, is the fact that when you start a trail, it typically will pop you out almost right where you started. So you imagine a big loop with other little loops that connect it, and it's awesome.
It's like a hub, and all the trails come off and come right back to the hub.
It does.
That's exactly how it's set up.
So I kind of forgot about going over the dirt jumper, so I'm glad you said something. But for me, when I go to Griffin, if I bring my dirt jumper, I also bring my mountain bike.
Yes.
I'll bring both.
Absolutely. A lot of folks are doing that now, too.
And I would say Griffin's a pretty safe place to leave a bike in a car.
Yeah.
I've left a couple bikes. I've never had any issues. And now that doesn't mean something can't happen, so keep that in mind. Bring locks and stuff like that. Better safe than sorry, but I've never felt worried or that kind of a thing. So
our local riders keep an eye open.
Yeah.
They watch what's going on.
But no.
I'm out there during the week most days, so I try to keep an eye on things as well.
So the things you would recommend not to do on a dirt jumper.
Long distance. Long distance is climbing. Climbing's horrible on these. I got a buddy that he only rides a dirt jumper.
Throw some clipless pedals on it and go, bud.
No, that's about it.
If
you gotta get way out there, bring another bike.
I would say if you bring a dirt jumper, you're probably gonna stay in the main area.
Yeah.
So probably, if you wanted to do the playground loop, or even the little blue thing there, the little blue, what is that loop called?
That is playground loop. That is basic training.
The basic training. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, it's the basic training loop. Yeah.
I just got an idea.
Oh no.
New video. Josh and Rick's riding dirt jumpers on Foxtrot.
All right.
This could be next.
We got a lot of good stuff. So we've gone through 4 bikes now.
Yep.
So we did beginner hardtail. We did the Trek Remedy, which was a enduro style.
Yep.
We did hardcore hardtail, very good all-arounder. And then we did the dirt jumper.
Yep.
I would say, personally, if you're looking to get a bike and you're wanting to ride around Griffin or even a lot of just more mellow local areas, if it's your first bike, start with a decent hardtail.
Yep.
Now,
absolutely.
Next one, hardcore hardtail, that's my personal opinion. Now, if you want to get a full suspension as opposed, by all means.
Yep. If you have back problems.
That's the other,
If you want comfort, if you just can't get the hang of getting across the routes, full suspension's the way to go.
But I would almost say, once you start though, don't go for a super expensive bike. Now, if you have the money and it's not an issue, I would say do that, that's fine. But if you don't know how much you're going to ride, I think it's okay to get a more beginner-friendly bike, especially if you're just getting into the sport. Because whenever I started, my first ride was a mile and a half, and I was dead. It was miserable. So you have to start, and it's good to start on something a little bit cheaper so you're not so much, I don't want to say in debt because that's not the right word, but if you decide to get out of the sport, and let's say you bought a $4,000 to $5,000 bike,
you're stuck with it for a bit.
Yeah, you're not going to sell it for $4,000 to $5,000 anymore.
The market right now is not.
No, you'll be lucky if you get half.
Yep.
So this is just kind of thinking ahead and just trying to be safe, in my opinion. And then you have the dirt jumper. If you're wanting to get into mountain bike trails, this, in my opinion, is a play bike.
Yep, this is a play bike.
You don't buy this, in my opinion, unless you know for sure you're going to use it and ride it and that kind of a thing. And the cool thing about, like, let's say Ray's, where a lot of people around here go, guess what you can rent at Ray's?
These
Dirt jumpers.
Yep, you can
So
try out whatever you want.
see what you think and that kind of a thing, and then find out. Especially, let's say you go to Ray's more than, you know, a couple times a month, and, you know, you got snowy bad weather, because welcome to Indiana and Illinois. But then you decide to buy a dirt jumper then. So, and I mean, this is just the Evil. I just really wanted to build up an Evil, so I did. But I know,
all the manufacturers.
radios, like radio, they make a radio, it's called an Asura, I believe. It's like $600, and it is just a very nice bomb-proof hardtail.
Haro's got a nice one.
The steel reserves and stuff, very nice hardtails. And those ones come with rigid forks even, which the radio comes with a budget, like, pogo stick, in my opinion. It's, you just lock it out. But
if you're coming off of a BMX bike, you will not like this right off the bat.
Yeah. And I mean, mine's basically max PSI and one click from locked out.
This is your oh crap factor.
It's exactly what it is. If you land heavy, it'll give a little bit, but yeah, it's just there for, oops, I messed up.
One click from locked out.
So, out of all the bikes, Rich, that you have ridden and taken to Griffin, what do you personally recommend, being the one who runs it and builds and does everything that you do?
I'm biased, but I like the hardcore hardtail the best. Because I can do everything. I can hit the dirt jumps. I can hit the big features. I can just cross country ride with the kids. I can do whatever I want on that bike.
So for me, that's of course what I say as well. And again, it's going to be preference, okay? Whatever you enjoy, you go for that. But the two of us, hardcore hardtails, all day, every day. So if you guys have any questions, please put them down in the comments. If this is going to be a video you watch to go to Griffin for the first time, let us know. Put it down in the comments, and then I'd love for you to put down another comment when you're back and done.
And let us know what you thought.
Yeah, what did you ride? You know, what trails did you go on? That kind of a thing. We'd love to. Griffin Bike Park has a Facebook page. Griffin Bike Park has an Instagram. You'll see them post things, trail statuses, things like that, especially if you're out of town and you decide to go to Griffin in the morning and the gate's closed and there's a red light. That means you're not supposed to ride. Sadly, it's closed. So check in the mornings on Facebook and Instagram. You'll see the actual trails to see if it's yellow or green, red. And when it starts to get cold, it'll even be blue, which is basically, blue means you can ride if it's frozen. When it thaws, please get off the trail. So
the only time we close is when it's wet, so keep that in mind.
Awesome. But as mentioned, if you guys have any questions over any of the bikes, please let us know. Rich is at Griffin quite a bit. He runs the place. You'll see him there all the time. Put them down in the comments, like I said. But thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, everybody take care.
See ya.